Frontera Rock.
Amigos de Frontera Rock, gracias por acompañarnos como siempre. El día de hoy estamos pues muy alegres porque tenemos la visita de un gran músico, una gran persona, un músico legendario de la historia del rock internacional. Estamos con Paul Gilbert, que muchos conocen por Mr. Big y muchos otros proyectos en los que él ha participado. Y pues tenemos el gran honor de que nos visite el día de hoy aquí en Frontera Rock. Hello, Paul. Welcome to Frontera Rock. It's a real pleasure to have you with us. We are speaking from Monterrey, Mexico. I'm Ricardo Klein. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Fantastic.
Thank you. You've been in Monterrey very often, right?
Well, I don't know if very often, but a couple times.
Couple times, yeah. Paul, our conversation usually explore not only what an artistic is doing today, but also the experiences and decisions that shape the person behind the music. So I would like to begin with the very beginning.
Okay.
So in Frontera Rock, whenever we have the opportunity to speak with an artist for the first time, we like to ask how the relationship with music began. We believe those stories can inspire young people to drop the phone and pick up an instrument and discover their own voice. Before technique, success, or the idea of becoming a professional musician, do you remember the moment when the music first truly captured your imagination? What made you want to participate in it rather than simply listen to it?
Well, for me, music was the most exciting thing in the world when I was a kid. My parents had a great record collection. They had a lot of records by the Beatles, Rolling Stones, the Animals. They also had classical music, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. And there was great music on the radio. And also my uncle was a great guitar player. And he would, I could see him play really close up because he's my uncle. He's sitting right next to me. Okay. So that was incredible to see what he could bring out of an instrument. But I would say, definitely the Beatles, and then later on Led Zeppelin, like heavier bands. And I kind of wanted to be a singer, but I was better at guitar, so I did that.
Well, you also sing very well, so.
Well, thank you.
And you play another instrument, bass, maybe not professional, but do you used to go to the piano or the bass, or rather than guitar?
I play a lot of drums. I actually practice drums. I love it. It's fun to play, and I play some piano. I mean, just chords, but chords and piano sound so good.
Yeah,
you don't have to be. I don't have to play a lot of scales or anything. I can just play a chord, and it's so in tune. There's sometimes on a guitar it's hard to get a complex chord really in tune, and the piano, like certain voicings are easier, and it's just a nice instrument for chords.
Okay. And did you take some classes, guitar classes, or just pick up the guitar from your uncle or something, or how to start with the instrument?
Well, everything. I took lessons when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
But I gave up right away because it was the teacher taught me a lot about sight reading, and I didn't really. That wasn't exciting to me. I wanted to play, and I didn't want to read. Yeah. So I gave up, and I actually started taking drum lessons. And the drum lessons were also sight reading, so I gave that up too. And I just spent after that. I just pretended to play in the mirror while listening more. But finally, I started to play by ear. And I did that for a couple of years. And I took some lessons, and that helped, because just to learn the basic, the common scales that guitar players use and the common chords everybody uses. And that was really helpful to get that information. Yeah. But mostly I learned from listening to records and copying my heroes and going to the concerts and watching their hands. Yeah. Later on, I went to GIT at Musicians Institute, and that was great, to learn music theory and also just to be around all the musicians. That was really inspiring.
Yeah. That's definitely it's uh, watching your idols and try to emulate them. I think is the most exciting thing when your first chord sounds and the first scale and the solos, and that's very interesting for like I said, for the young people that trying to pick up some instrument. You can start from zero, and that's cool too.
Well, everybody starts from zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need to, okay, I need to know that, or no, you can just pick up your guitar and start playing.
Well, also, I've done so much teaching that I've learned a lot about what students need. And at least the students that come to me, most of them actually play pretty well. But
Yeah.
the place where they need the most work is actually more of like being able to hear details of music,
Mhm.
and also just have like a really good sense of rhythm. And it's
Yeah.
it's funny. I remember, my heroes would say that in magazine interviews. They'd be like, "You need to work on your sense of rhythm." What? But that's kind of it. So if you're able to, I mean, I don't know if the fact that I practice drums, I'm not sure if that helped, or because really every instrument has rhythm inside it. If you're a singer,
Yeah.
you have to play. You still have to have a sense of rhythm. But
Yeah.
if that's, if I'm talking to the young people now, if you find that that's easy for you, if you have like good, just natural instincts about rhythm, and the way to test that is to listen to a song that has kind of a challenging rhythm. Maybe there's a song, dun, 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 called Green Eyed Lady by, I think it's by Sugarloaf, and it's just this really, I mean, it's 4/4. The overall time is normal, but the place where the organ happens is really unusual. And if you can play along with that, or hum along with it, that's kind of proof that you've got a good natural rhythm.
Okay.
And that's the thing I've found is, like, we talked about studying from zero, but I hate to say this, but some people do. I've sort of, from teaching the rhythmic stuff seems to come easier to some people, and it has nothing to do with technique. The technique, everybody, there's no everybody struggles with that, but to be able to hear rhythms, if you find that you do that easily, man, that's a great discovery, and build on that.
Yeah. So early in your career, Paul, technique became an important part of your musical identity. Today, melody seems to guide many of your creative decisions. What could technique express for you then than it cannot express now, and what can melody reveal that technique sometimes hides?
Well, I think developing good technique allowed me to sort of show that I was a serious grown-up. If you're like a punk rock player, you can make great music, but a lot of other musicians might sort of look down at you, oh, that's just like music for kids, it's so basic. So, I love punk rock. I've learned a ton of Ramones songs, Sex Pistols, Iggy and the Stooges. I love that stuff, and I've played it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have that side of me where, if I need to, I can be a grown-up.
Okay.
I can sort of be, yes, I can play a Bach piece or whatever. So in a way, it was almost like a shield, like a defense against criticism.
Yeah.
But and it's nice to have that, so you have an idea, you can play it. But ultimately, sometimes I'll think about, well, what music do I actually listen to? I mean, this morning I was listening to Alan Holdsworth the whole morning.
Okay.
But a lot of it is not only because he has great technique, but because the songs are really good. There's other players who have great technique that I don't like, that I don't listen to as much as Alan Holdsworth. I actually really like his compositions. I like his melodies and his vibrato, and his touch is so beautiful. But other days I'm listening to really simple pop music that might not even have any guitar in it, and it's more about what the singer's doing. So that's me. I mean, I think every musician, you're allowed to love what you love.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same thing I love, but if so you kind of make those. Every musician makes those choices. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Like, developing technique did take a lot of time, and it was funny when I was in my late 20s, I started taking piano lessons.
Okay.
Because I wanted to improve my technique. And the teacher, he didn't know that I was a well-known guitar player. He just, here I am, a guy coming in to learn piano. And I practiced every week, and he said, like, wow, you're really improving fast. You could be something if you keep at it. And and it was around that time I realized I can't do this again. Like, I don't have, in my heart, I don't have the patience to learn technique again. I know how long, because I know the kind of, from having done it on guitar, I know what it takes. Yeah. I can only do that once in my life. Like, and I think some musicians, can't even do that once, and that's fine, because it is like, man, that's a lot of, you gotta have a lot of extra time to build that, and you can make great music without that element. So it's really, if you love it, because I really, it was important to me, so I was happy to do it. But like, when I was like looked up, it was almost like climbing a mountain. Like, I climbed a mountain once, and I go to another one. No, once is enough.
That's it. Yeah. Because sometimes young musicians think that as fast as you are, it's better, but because you saw Eddie Van Halen or you itself. But when you see also B.B. King or Eric Clapton, you say, well, it's not about faster. It's the feeling, is the rhythm, it's all the stuff that you already said. But sometimes young musicians think that I need to be faster, right?
Well, not every musician has to have the same choices. Yeah. So, B.B. King and Eric Clapton, they really knew what they wanted to do, and they did it. And it's funny. I only saw Eric Clapton live once. It was in Japan, and probably I don't know, probably in the '90s sometime. And he came out on stage. And the first thing he did was he played this really fast thing on the electric. I was like, wow, he can do it if he wants to. So, and BB, I love BB because it always sounds to me like he's playing what he's hearing in his head. Yeah. And the thing with fast playing is, like, you kind of have to be prepared for fast playing. And in a way, you're playing what you worked on 3 years ago. You're not really playing what you're hearing now. It's sort of like, I've worked on preparing this thing and I've brought it, and that's there's something good to that. But the thing about BB, of course he had to prepare too to know how to play, but the melodies and the things he's playing really, to me, they feel like he's hearing that in his head at that moment, and that's the wonderful thing about melodic improvisation.
Yeah, that's very impressive. So, Paul, your new album takes inspiration from rules of civility, while rock music has traditionally been associated with irreverence, rebellion, and disruption. Do you think music can be civil without becoming harmless?
Well, first of all, I have to say that, we're talking about choices.
Okay.
Before, like slow or fast or melodic. Another choice is like, some people are the lyrics are really important to them, and I've never been that person. Like, I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I don't think I ever paid attention to what Robert Plant was singing about. I just loved his voice.
Yeah,
and I love to me, the music itself, the texture of it, and the power of it, and the melody of it had a great emotional impact. And it's like, I'd listen to the lyrics. He's singing about hobbits. It doesn't make any sense. Whatever, and that was fine. Or a band like Loudness. I'm a huge Loudness fan. They're singing in Japanese. I have no idea what any of the songs are about. So for me, when like the first time that I really started to care about it was when I started becoming a professional, and I would be doing an interview, and the interviewer would say, "Well, you know, what are your songs about?" And I'd be like, "Oh no, like I don't really know." You know, just came with some words, you know, so I could play guitar behind it. And of course they might be about something, but I kind of, that fades away pretty quickly. So to me, a lot of times the lyrics are just sort of a scaffolding for the melody. And but you know, if the lyrics can be good or interesting or appealing, you know, that's a bonus. You know, I'd rather have them be good than bad. And for some reason, I read the Washington Rules of Civility decades ago, but it was interesting to me, and I don't even know how I remembered them, but somehow I got to thinking about them, and the puzzle of making them into melodies was really fun. Like it was really a nice puzzle. So, you know, it was to me, it was like an interesting piece of history. And I enjoy the process of making into melodies. And, you know, I like the idea of civility as opposed to anarchy. I mean, I love songs about anarchy too, like that Sex Pistols song, "Anarchy in the UK." Great song. But in real life, when those things play out, I think civility tends to have better results for, you know, going about your day. So, you know, so that's my answer.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, it's very interesting. You said all the stuff, and we also in Mexico we just listen to music in English, and sometimes we don't know how you sing it, but we like melody and the voice and everything. You know? So I got the like you said, the sometimes you just like music, right?
Yeah.
Or some of the classic music is in Latin, so or there's no lyrics and whatever. You just listen to music. That's very interesting. Paul, you have said that you trust the melody and allow it to take you somewhere unexpected. But trusting something also means giving up a certain amount of control. After spending so many years mastering your instrument, has surrendering control become one of the most difficult and perhaps most rewarding parts of creating music?
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I think of it more as it's a lot easier to work on a problem where it's kind of a smaller focus, rather than to like solve everything all at once. So I often use the metaphor of the blank page. You know, it's like if you have a blank piece of paper, and your job is you can be anything. You know, endless potential. It could be words, it could be a picture, it could be a score of music, and there's so many decisions that, you know, your mind can just get overwhelmed, because as soon as you start something, you start thinking, well, it also could be this. Would that be better? Or, you know, it's easy to get confused by too many choices. So to me, to be able to find some way to narrow that down, you know, whether it be I'm going to use, you know, limit myself to this set of words, and I'm going to make a melody, and that really narrows down the problem. And I still, you know, I have a lot of control within that, but I don't want I don't want that to expand to like, well, not only could you do that, but you could also, you know, do this other 10,000 things. So so that's it. Like to kind of narrow my focus, you know. And I chose that you know, I picked out the lyric, you know. So you know, I sort of I'm the one that took the blank page and went, okay, let's take this smaller. Okay, now this I can handle, and then I have fun, you know, puzzling that out.
So Paul, just pop up this question. Now with the AI, there's a lot of musicians that trying to work with that. I had the opportunity to talk with Rudy Sarso and talk me about how he used Suno and well, other musicians. So when you're there's some blackouts or some blocks, you are into the AI, or you're not much into that to get some ideas, or not for now?
I've spent time with AI, and I love AI for certain things.
Okay.
Like I have on my hard drive, I have 12,000 video guitar lessons that I did for my artist work school.
Okay.
And I'm having AI go through and summarize what they're about and make a structure. So when I make a new school, I'll have like a really logical plan when I make the new lessons. So it sort of lets me, go back to this enormous amount of work I did and sort through it. Because that, if I had to watch 12,000 videos and make a summary, that's not a job for humans. But the AI does that really well. Now, here's the interesting thing: is if AI or anything can do a job for you, so you don't have to do it anymore. To me, you kind of the best place to do that is if a job that you don't like doing.
Okay.
I don't like washing the dishes, so if I could have AI wash the dishes, that would be great. But if it's something that you really enjoy and you like spending time with and you like tinkering with, then keep going. And if AI can help, structure something or do the, do sort of the mindless repetitive task of it,
organize or something.
Yeah. But it's funny too. Like sometimes, before AI ever came out, I think a lot of musicians, myself included, had an idea like, oh, if I learn music theory, then I won't really have to learn how to be a songwriter, because I can just use the math of music theory to sort of do like an equation, and that will give me the song.
Okay.
And then I can listen to it, and enjoy it, but I won't really have to like get behind the machinery or build the machinery of what it takes to be a songwriter from myself. And I learned that I've benefited a lot from music theory, but ultimately that won't solve it for you. Ultimately, you have to just like learn a lot of songs and do the traditional way of becoming a songwriter, and when you start to be, the better you become, the more fun it is. And now I really, when I was a kid, I didn't like songwriting. I didn't like the process.
Okay.
The process was grueling and hard. Now it's much easier. I really enjoy it much. It's taken me a long time because that was harder for me to learn than guitar technique.
Nice. Paul, you talk about how the AI organize your videos and teaching structure. You have spent a significant part of your life teaching guitar while continuing to learn and evolve as a musician yourself. Has teaching changed your definition of talent, and have you started ever revealed something about music that accomplished musicians or virtuosos could not?
Well, I think on the artist work side, I was able to listen to so many players because they would send in videos.
Okay.
And before that, at GIT, when I taught, I could hear the players. But that really opened up a lot of doors for me, because there was a lot of things that I didn't realize that people were struggling with. And so it never would have occurred to me to teach those things until I saw like, oh, a lot of people have a hard time with this. And it's funny, I blame tablature. I think guitar tab became popular, I don't know, in the mid 80s or something.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of the problems I see are like problems that people have because they almost like they can learn without being able to hear, because they can learn visually, they can see like, oh, that's where I put my finger, but they didn't learn it by listening to it. And so their hands are way beyond their ears. And you kind of need your ears to make, because guitar is a very expressive instrument. It's more than just playing a note.
Yeah,
it's like how you play that note. How there's a touch to it, and there's a lot of different textures and dynamics and vibrato and these things that you can't learn visually. You can only learn them by listening. So really a lot of my job as a teacher became how to open people's ears to the expressive details of music. And then, they know a little bit, but they needed more. And it also, whenever I teach anybody something, it always makes me think, well, could I use work there too? And so just spending time in those areas, I think improved me a lot. And just, made me real aware of how important expression is.
Yeah. And when you're teaching, you learn it. That's definitely always happens. When you teach something, you learn about it more and more and more. So that's interesting. Paul, humor is present not only in your personality, but also in your lyrics, arrangements, video, and musical choices. Is humor simply a natural reflection of who you are, or is it become serious compositional tool, or a way of giving the music character without taking away its emotional depth?
Yeah, I had my personality is what it is, but it was funny when we were in the studio making the rock album with I'm wearing a George Washington hat and I've got the Washington outfit. We're doing songs about the George Washington rules of civility, and the guy who's doing the video, he saw I forget, it was like a clock or something in the studio. I didn't bring it. It was just there already, and it looked like an American dollar bill, so it had a picture of George Washington on it. And he's like, "Oh, we should put that in the background." And I looked at him and I said, "No, that's too much." He said, "I said you have to realize something. I'm a serious artist." And we all burst into laughter, but at the same time, that's true. Like, and part of me is like I take it very seriously. But at the same time, I think that that's, every sense of humor is not the same, from person to person. And, so I've got a particular sense of humor. I don't quite know how to describe it. But, I was going to say, it's funny. I was watching Andy Timmons' Instagram the other day. Andy's an incredible guitar player. And he's doing a lot of Instagram posts where he's walking. And talking at the same time, and just talking whatever he's thinking about. And because he's walking, sometimes there'll be a car. And he said, he said, "Man, I really appreciate people that use their turn signal." And because maybe he almost got run over by a car or something and didn't use their turn signal. And he said, "But Paul Gilbert has a song called 'Everybody Use Your Goddamn Turn Signal,' and I kind of agree with it." And it reminded me of that song. And I listened to it, and that's an example of being serious and funny at the same time. Because in the song, I'm very serious. I'm like, "Use your goddamn turn signal." I'm sort of being really serious about it. But the contrast of what songs are usually about, most songs aren't that because that's a really specific message. And most songs are more general, everybody get together, or it's most songs don't get that specifically, and most songs aren't complaints. So it's just different. If everybody did that, then it wouldn't be funny anymore. It was more funny just because that you don't usually hear a song like that.
Yeah. Well, this new album, Paul, was created through real performances with musicians playing together instead of constructing everything piece by piece. At this point in your career, what kind of imperfection can make a performance more truthful, and what kind of imperfection simply gets in the way of the music?
Well, the way I'd look at that is that when you have a band playing together, you can immediately tell if your overall feeling is good.
Okay.
Which is really, you can't, when you go piece by piece, you don't know how it's going to feel until everything's done. and often it's disappointing. You're like, oh man, we have to go back to this again. And like, oh no, we worked too hard. Just leave it. But if you have the whole band and you play the song and you go like, how did that feel? And the thing is sometimes the imperfections really don't matter for the overall feel. Which is it's sort of an interesting thing that if you have some little thing, but it's almost part of the story.
Okay.
Like a performance is almost like a story, and if there's a little something, because a story isn't all good news. There might be a part of the story where the main character is really struggling, or and so if you hear the solo and you hear like it kind of gets off for a second, then gets back on, that's like part of the story. And so if it was you have to make that decision as the producer, whether it's a mistake that kind of feels good and it's part of the story, or if it's just like something that was really unintentional and it just sort of breaks the spell of the story. So that you have to make that decision as you listen to it, and your heart tells you, like, does that mistake just make me like, does it break the spell and I forget what's going on, or is it still flow even though there's a little bump in the road?
Okay, it's definitely a work of love. So, Paul, you're gonna be in South America. You're gonna be in Mexico City. So, what do people can expect of this show?
Well, I've already my band and I've already toured about 6 weeks in the United States, which went great. And then we're starting up in a few weeks. We'll be heading to South America, and I believe the Mexico City show is at the very end of that leg. So the nice thing is we'll be really warmed up again.
Yeah.
So every time I've played in Mexico City, it's been great. So I know it'll be wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great city. It's a lot of things. So, Paul, I want to thank you again for being here in Frontera Rock. I really appreciate your time, and we are honored to having you here. So, people can reach you in your page and take lessons and follow you in all the platforms and listen to your music. Thank you, Paul. You're always welcome to our show, and well, thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure to having you here.
Ah, fantastic! Thank you so much. We'll see you in Mexico City, and keep rocking in Monterrey.
Yeah. We hope you see you soon. Maybe in Monterrey later. Well, let me say goodbye in Spanish for the people in Mexico, and with amigos de Frontera Rock, gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. Estuvimos platicando con el gran Paul Gilbert, uno de los grandes músicos del rock internacional. Mi nombre es Ricardo Klein, les agradezco mucho el que nos hayan escuchado y nos vemos y nos escuchamos por aquí el próximo lunes. Gracias, buenas noches.
Frontera Rock.